recorded live right here in Little Rock, Arkansas. It's time again for another special Larry's Rants, Raves, and Reviews. Now here's Larry.
Hey, folks, welcome to this episode. We have an extremely special episode for you. Before we can get into it, I've just got to get something off my chest, okay? So hang on, I guess, for the first rant of the night. But across the globe, crowds are celebrating President Trump's strike in Iran, cheering what they see as freedom from oppressive Sharia law. Huge crowds of Iranians are flooding the streets in D.C. and dancing wildly to YMCA, his theme song, waving massive "Thank You Trump" signs, cheering freedom after the regime's fall. Iranians are flooding the streets in Australia, Canada, Britain, Switzerland, and France, and around the world, dancing and cheering and celebrating the strikes that the U.S. and our friend Israel have accomplished. They celebrate this action as real freedom after decades of brutal oppression under this regime. The people know President Trump's strength, and he is delivering. A woman in Iran cheered and celebrated as she looked out her window and shouted, "They just struck the compound." The U.S. and Israel have destroyed his compound. People around the world should be celebrating with them, appreciating the strong leadership from President Trump and Israel in the fight for freedom and security. All this news should be heartwarming and joyful, congratulating the people of Iran. The supreme commander of Iran, of the Iranian army, and many others have been eliminated the very first strike, the first day. That's a really wonderful way to start out a war. As millions across the globe are celebrating, we see the Democrats, I call them communists, and legacy media won't show you this. The legacy media, you just hear crickets. The woke right is melting down and the left is in total denial and only spewing their hatred and disdain for President Trump. TDS is absolutely maxed out. The crazy left can't even celebrate freedom and liberty. These people suffered under this evil for decades. Now, because of President Trump and Israel, they're tasting, for the first time in years, they're tasting liberty, and they're thanking the man who helped make it happen. I loved President Trump's speech the other day when he said, "I'm the president that has guts to do what all the others before me would not do." Why did weak and corrupt leaders let this terror regime crush its citizens for so long? The appeasement failed, but strength succeeds. America First is changing the world, and tyrants tremble. The left cowardly chanting their TDS remarks. The liberal communist legacy media sits in silence, not reporting the truth, but continues to spew the lies and perverted agenda of their communist party. They have their narrative from their elite left politicians, and yet freedom rises. Now, here with us today, we have two very special guests. We have Kathy Dortch in our studio here in Little Rock with us. And Kathy, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Larry.
One of our wonderful friends. We also have the wonderful friend. He is now considered our Israeli correspondent, direct from Israel, Richard Summers. Now, folks, you have heard of Richard the last two shows. The last two episodes, Tuesday and Wednesday, well, we actually recorded those with Richard when he was here in the United States and was traveling for about a week or week and a half. But now that you've gotten to know Richard on those two fabulous shows that he did with us, and I do mean that from the bottom of my heart, Richard, you did an awesome job.
Thank you.
We did that during the snowstorm during January, and Randy's four-wheel drive truck got out, got us up the mountainside to the studio. But today he's back in Israel, and he joins us remote, and he wants to give us his perspective and update from Israel. So, Richard, welcome back to the show. I have looked so forward to actually doing this with you, and everyone here in this room has. So welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, first of all, for making some time for me. I know you guys have got a lot on your plates with the primaries coming up. And with the midterms coming up, it's important that you guys are involved in your own politics as well as talking about what's happening across the world. I want to say one thing about your opening. I think that the first thing that really makes Donald Trump different than pretty much every president that I've known in my lifetime is that Trump doesn't kick the can down the road. Okay, and I think that's the issue. The issue is, in the end, if you're going to be a great leader, it's actually dealing with the issues on your table as opposed to waiting for the next person to take them over. And it's easy when you're a United States president and you only have 2 terms that you can kick things down the road and blame somebody else. And Trump is not doing that. So first of all power to Donald Trump. The man has turned around and said, I have a job to do and I will do it. I won't leave it to somebody else. Right. Okay, so first of all, I kind of need to give you some background here because we're talking about something that is mind-blowing. Okay, we've been living on the edge for about 3 weeks or maybe even a month here in the region in Israel, waiting for this war to break out. Okay, it was always going to happen. There's no doubt about it. It was when after 2 years of war with Iranians' proxies, it was very, very clear that if we wanted to come to an end of this war, that you have to cut the head off the snake. Okay, and the snake in this particular case is Iran. So how did it start? 8 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, which is the only day I get to sleep in. Instead of my dog putting his nose in my ear to say, hey, dude, it's time to go for a walk, the house woke up with sirens. We know how to deal with that. We've lived in the Middle East for all of our lives, and we know how to, when sirens go off, then everybody gets out of bed and they run to the safety room, okay? In every house in Israel that's been built since 1992, there's a room that's made out of reinforced steel, concrete and steel, that you go in there when the rockets start flying, and it keeps you pretty safe. So there's me and my 3 girls and my wife and my dog all in a room trying to figure out what is going on. And what we realize after 10 minutes is actually nothing. In Israel, when we start a war, the government wakes us up. It turns around and said, okay, you need to be ready. You have a responsibility. And that responsibility is to stay safe. Okay? That if we want to fight a war, then we're not willing to let our civilians die. And that is a fundamental part of our belief. Okay? That what makes us different from the Iranian regime, what makes us different from Hamas, what makes us different from the Houthis, is the fact that we do not celebrate death. We celebrate life. Okay? And so that every single person knows where their shelter is, every single, that we have paid millions upon millions of dollars for defensive measures, okay? While Iranians were creating ballistic missiles, we were creating Iron Dome. It's an important differentiation. It's what makes us Western, okay? That we believe that life is more important than everything else. And just so you know, life being more important than everything else is not kicking the can down the road, which means that you guys and President Trump realize it as well. That sometimes you have to stand up and be counted and say, okay, this cannot go on. Okay, the scariest thing when you talk about that woke left thing is that idea of turning around and people saying, it's okay. It doesn't matter that people are celebrating death. It really does.
Yes.
Okay, God gave us life. And if God gave us life, we should respect it.
Yes.
So where have we been up until now? Okay, So you, like, as you said, okay, the first day happened, and and Israel, together with the United States, with some really remarkable intelligence work, were able to wipe out pretty much the whole of the leadership of the IRGC, or the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, and the Ayatollahs. Okay, specifically the head Ayatollah. Okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't make it the end of the war. Okay, there's depth to these people. But what it does mean is that we know that there's something is going to change. And the question is as to whether or not we have the patience to make it change. And I believe that the President Trump has that patience. It's not going to be a week. It's not going to be 2 weeks. I think that Donald Trump was really correct in what he said last night. Yeah, that it would be about 4 weeks until this thing is over. All right. And over those 4 weeks, we understand that we're going to be running back and forth between to the shelter. But it's a price that we're willing to pay. Okay, today there was a direct hit of a rocket in Bet Shemesh, which is just outside of Jerusalem, which was the rocket fell directly on a synagogue, which there was a bomb shelter underneath. It killed 6 people. We're mourning deeply for those people on the one hand, and on the other hand, we're turning around and saying, it's okay. It's okay because we understand this may bring an end to death and destruction and bring an end to hate in the Middle East. And in the end, okay, you guys need to know that the one thing that is in the past, you used to talk about spreading democracy. Today, you're actually spreading love. Okay, and I know that sounds strange when we're talking about sending over aircraft carriers and 150 F-22s and thousands of bombers. But you're not spreading hate, and the people in Iran are telling you that. Okay, when people in Iran are dancing during their mourning period, they're dancing because they're celebrating the reality that those people have died in order to bring them peace and in order to bring them love. And now I want to go back to Israel, and I want to go back to my experience, okay? Just because I think that in the end that you need to know what we're going through to understand partially why you're doing it, okay? So at the moment, first of all, you need to know what period of time we're at. We're in Purim, all right, which is incredibly, incredibly ironic, okay? Purim is meant to be the time when the Jews in Persia were sentenced, as it were, to death by Haman, the terrible guy, okay? Haman, if you like, is the modern-day Ayatollah. And Haman comes along because the Jews aren't willing to lie down in front of him and say, I need to wipe out every single Jew in the Persian Empire, and Persia being the modern-day Iran. And at the time, the wife of the then king, or the Ayatollah of Persia, was a woman called Esther. Okay, Esther was not a religious person. Okay, in fact, Esther was probably the opposite of what we would consider a pious and religious woman. She married a non-Jewish person, and she becomes the queen because she gets all of the good stuff. And there's this weird thing that happens at this point in the year when we suddenly realize that we're celebrating the only festival of the year when we don't talk about God. Okay? Go figure. Jews having a festival and not talking about God. But they're not talking about God because it's all about Esther, all right? And I'm a dad of 3 girls, so I like this festival a lot, okay? Because it's the point when the girls come to power and they turn around and say, it's our turn to stand up and be counted, okay? And we're not going to kick the can down the road. We understand that it's our job to do this thing. And we have 2 days where we're in synagogue and we're reading this story and we're literally celebrating the fact that a woman in biblical times has stood up and said, I will save the Jewish people. And she does. Okay. And just so you know, it's really very ironic. It's very connected to what's happening here when you look at what's happened in this war and you see how important women have been becoming in the Israeli army. Okay. From medics to pilots to even to tank officers. Okay. I'm going to go back and I'm going to turn around and I'm going to say, okay, it's Purim, which means that everybody's at home and everybody's dressing up. Yesterday evening, okay, because the schools are closed because there's a war going on, I had 10 girls running around in my house. Now, during that time when the 10 girls were running around in my house, what we could hear over the top of my house were the screams of jet engines and helicopters. Okay, no sirens. Because these guys, the Israeli Air Force, were going out and taking out rockets coming over from Iran and drones coming out from Iran so that we could continue celebrating our festivals. Okay, it's not a small thing. Now, I do have to admit, it doesn't go by unnoticed. Okay, both my dog, my kids, and me all know when the planes are coming back and when the planes are going out. And when the planes are going out, you react. Your body cannot avoid it. Everybody's tense. And we're all waiting for sirens. Now, sometimes they happen. If they get past the planes, then they happen. But most of the time, the Israeli Air Force, together with the American Air Force, is actually able to take these rockets out, and thousands, literally thousands, have been shot at us. Okay? And you need to turn around. And if you see an American serviceman at the moment walking down the streets, please stop. Please stop, give them a hug, and say thank you for your service. Okay? They are making the world a safer place. Okay, I have to ask you, Larry.
Yes.
What's your experience at the moment in the States in terms of people seeing service people? Are people realizing how important and what an amazing thing you guys are doing?
Yeah, I would say yes.
Yes, I think since the Gulf Wars,
yes,
the sentiment has been to thank someone and buy their meal if you're in a restaurant. They're extended courtesies, but it's quite common for our citizens to walk up to a uniformed person in the military to say thank you for your service.
I see it all the time in my restaurant. Matter of fact, there is an Army recruiting office just down about a block. And some of those young guys will come in there and will order food. And this young guy, he's so funny because it's like, well, I mean, you never have to pay for a meal because he gets down to the register. Somebody's already given me money or a credit card to put it on and all. And, also, Richard, I just have to tell you, I literally walked out of my restaurant to come to the studio to record. And guys, as I was getting in my van, there were 4 military choppers, big, huge choppers flying overhead.
Yeah, it's a different feeling right now.
And I'm like, why are they here? The only thing I could figure is they were running maneuvers out of Jackson Air Force Base. But to me, I just looked up going, well, I guess they're on maneuvers. When you describe your lifestyle and how you have to live in Israel, that's why I say the American mind can't comprehend exactly what you're talking about.
Like how many times a night, that first night, did you have to roll out of bed or did you just sleep in the safe room? Did everyone drag a mattress to Bar's room and we're just going to all sleep in here?
No, to be fair, my poor daughter Bar, who is one of my twins, had to give up her bed because all the 5 of us and the dog all slept with her. It was a little bit of a
kind of like family camping, war style.
Exactly, family camping, and we all have. Every house has its own kind of bug out bag. Okay, that you have a bag that's ready by your bed in case sirens go off. So in that bag, you'll have your passport, you'll have your credit card, you'll have your driving license, all of that stuff that if you lose is a real pain to get back. And then in my bag, we have the cocktail kit and the chocolate. Okay, the chocolate's for the kids, cocktail kit's for me.
That has, dark chocolate has such a healing power. I totally agree with that.
Indeed, as does tequila.
But now,
as I said,
it makes you forget. It makes you forget the siren, right?
Forget the sirens, right?
Now us 3 here in the studio, had we been there, The bug out, yeah, we'd have bugged out real quick. Because we're not used to that, right?
My money is with Richard. I'm staying wherever he is. I'm going to follow him like a shadow.
Okay.
So, Richard, you made a comment in one of our text exchanges that the readiness, you've been talking about this. Your government's been preparing you. Your mayor, you guys work together in the council. This didn't sneak up on you. You've been preparing, and you made a comment about how we are doing what we're asked. Do you think that would be happening in other Western countries right now? Would we be following the rules the way you're having to follow the rules right now?
Listen, it's a difficult question because, in essence, it's something we grow up with. Okay. I talked about my daughter, I think, last time I was with you guys. My daughter's 16 and is in an Air Force program. She's studying engineering at the same time as doing a high school diploma. Okay. She's already used to understanding that part of her role is to serve the country. Okay. My twins who aren't in a military program but understand that they have to give their voluntary hours. We're a country that believes in community service, and if you believe in community service, then you actually trust the community.
That's good.
Like from my perspective, all right. Like when I'm in the exchanges we had, we talked about my job. Okay, peace or war, every single month. Okay. The staff in my regional council, we sit around a table and we practice. Okay. Now, we don't always practice for war. In fact, most of the time we practice for earthquakes. But the idea is to understand that when something happens, that we don't actually have to start making it up as we go along. That we have we have everything already planned in advance. Now, here's the crazy thing, just so you know. Even the civilians have stuff planned in advance. When I talked about the idea of you guys saying thank you for your service to people, okay, at the moment, outside of one of the big Air Force bases close to where I work, okay, there's a guy who has a 3-meter or like a 9-foot long barbecue that literally every soldier can come out at any given time and just pick up a meal, okay? He's literally barbecuing from morning till night, because he understands that these guys are having to work 24/7 at the moment. All right, and trust me, he's had that barbecue on in his front yard ready for this day. All right, we're people who are prepared for the worst, so that we live our life in the best way that we can. Okay, we are people who celebrate life. I'll tell you about a prayer that every Jew says in the morning. It's a 12-second prayer. It's my favorite one, okay? In fact, it's my only one. It goes, Modeh ani lefanecha, okay? Which is, I thank you, okay? Why am I thanking you? I'm thanking you because God has given me back my soul for another day. He's basically saying, we start off our day saying, thanks, I've got my life back again, okay? That's how we live our lives. We live our lives turning around and saying we're totally grateful for every moment.
Amen.
And it's a great way of living, as opposed to complaining about what you haven't got. Celebrate what you have. And just so you know, we're really good at moaning as well. And we moan so that things will be even better for the next day that we wake up. All right. And that when we realize that there is somebody evil and has been talking about it for 30 years that they're going to wipe us off the map, then we turn around and we say, actually, no, we're too grateful to be alive and we are not going to just stand by and placate you. And I get it. The woke people do not like that response. But to be honest with you, I'm done with apologizing. Okay? We went through enough over thousands of years of history to understand that no longer do we need to apologize for being alive. Actually, we need to celebrate it, and we are doing it in the best possible way. All right, that while we're at war, every one of our kids is still dressing up. And when he hears the word, and we're drinking until we cannot tell the difference between Haman and Mordechai. Okay, and I promise you that afterwards that Kathy will be able to explain to you why I'm saying that.
Well, we also appreciate you have not lost your gratitude. You haven't lost your sense of humor either, and that's going to keep you in good still. I've never met a more resilient person than Richard. I don't think there are more resilient people than the Israeli Jewish people. And we just salute that, Richard. You're doing an outstanding job, and we're so grateful for divine intervention and divine protection that is constantly surrounding you and your community. We think of you constantly, and that's what we hear here all the time. How's Richard? What have you heard? What's going on there? People here really want to know what you're experiencing that they know they aren't seeing in the news.
Absolutely. Yes.
Kathy, I have to just say something, that there's a divine intervention coming from all sides. When this war started in 23, we just finished building a bomb shelter that you'd helped us build. All right.
Oh, wow.
We did.
When this thing broke out in 26, okay, we've just finished building an emergency response center that you and your community were the first people to fund.
Thank God.
Okay, and that emergency response center at the moment is working 24/7.
Thank God. I couldn't be happier to hear that.
And I think you covered that in some depth back at our last or episode 97, I think. And it was done just a month right before.
Right. The building of the bomb shelter was a month just before, but just so you understand, the emergency response center that I'm talking about now was literally finished. Literally finished on Thursday, and the war started on Saturday.
Wow.
Yeah. He was finishing that. He's the construction project manager on top of everything else. We were exchanging pictures while he was here in January. I'm dragging him all over Texas and Arkansas trying to get meetings in, and he's handling project management for this construction project, which now, thank God, is operational.
Yeah.
I mean, what else could we put on your plate?
We're still painting the walls and putting in the tiles, but we've got the cameras up and we have the people sitting at the tables, which is what is important.
Oh, that's amazing.
Richard, what I'm also hearing from you is that Israel is paying quite the price, if you will, for what's happening right now, trying to liberate Iran. You're paying the price, but hopefully this price that you're willing to pay right now will be one of the last ones, because isn't it true? And I'm not going to confess to be one of the sharpest guys and the brightest bulbs in the pack about foreign.
Larry, can you say that again?
No, I will not. Only once.
What did he just say?
But wasn't
I can't get him to say it twice.
No, I will not say it twice. But wasn't Iran a really, really good country back until about, 77, 79, when this evil regime came in and took it over?
Well, I don't know. Purim was 3,000 years ago? I mean, it's kind of had a cycle of repetition in how the leadership in that part of the world has gone. That's not too far from the neighborhood of the Babylonian captivity, and it's been a tough neighborhood for a while, hasn't it?
Yeah, but Israel actually had a really great relationship with Iran before 79, before the revolution.
Okay, that's what I was getting at.
Right.
That's what I was getting at.
And just so you know, before 79, also there was a relatively large Jewish population in Iran. And what happens is that Iran kicks all of the Jews out. Okay, there's a huge amount of Iranian Jews living in Israel. In fact, living all over the world. All right.
Yeah.
And there's a huge love between the Iranian people and the Jews. It's not the hate and the death and the destruction is not an Iranian thing. We're talking about Islamism in its worst stages. All right. In essence, the Iranian people have been held hostage no less than Israel has been attacked.
That's good. It's good to understand.
I think the hardest thing from looking at it from the perspective from the Middle East, of looking at what's going on in the States and what's going on in Europe in terms of that knee-jerk leftist reaction of turning around and saying, well, if Israel's attacking or Americans attacking, then it must be these poor Iranians. Well, actually, as you said in your opening, the Iranians are celebrating. They're celebrating because they literally have been held hostage. All right? That when a woman can't walk out of her house because she's not got her hair covered, or if she does, she gets killed or she gets arrested, That is not a free society.
That's true.
That's
And
not a society
women all
that
over
we
the world should be
we should
celebrating.
be supporting.
Yes.
Which is why it's also beautiful that it's...
Kathy, say that one more time. What did you just say?
I just said that women all over the world should be celebrating
Absolutely.
that
They
liberation.
should. This is liberation. We see freedom and liberty and people's rights finally coming to light. That's what we're, and whether you want to call it, that we're pushing democracy or that we're pushing love or whatever, it's just the right thing to do, period.
That's actually what liberty is. And
Yes.
liberty is a concept that originated in the Hebrew scriptures.
Okay.
Let liberty be proclaimed in all the land. That's written in the Torah. And that's where we actually have that burned onto our Liberty Bell in this country from 250 years ago. The idea of liberty is a scriptural one in the Hebrew text from God's words to Moses' ears. So it's a concept that's absolutely from God and should be celebrated in the Judeo-Christian communities widespread.
And I think one of the things that I was getting at was until 79, wasn't Iran a fairly modern country? I mean,
it was a super modern country, and here's the irony of it: is that when the revolution originally happened, all right, it was a revolution against the Shah, who was really exaggerating, without a doubt. Okay, but it was actually meant to be a liberal democratic revolution that got taken over by the Islamists. Mm-hmm. All right, and I think that it's a really important message that we need to understand, that when you see the woke left at the moment turning around and saying, well, we need this and we need that, they need to understand at the moment that they are being they're being used. All right, there's no other word for it. Like, there are these kids in the university campuses are being used. They're being used and they're being lied to. And if they're not careful, they're going to lose their freedom in the process.
Richard, if you keep preaching like that, I'm going to get an offering basket and take up an offering around here. I can tell you that. So that's some good stuff, because America is looking down the barrel of exactly what you're describing.
And a little asleep about it.
Oh, yeah, a little asleep.
Yeah.
You got a Karen around every tree, every rock that's ready to just, and the leftists, I talked about TDS, Trump derangement syndrome, that what we call it here. Anything he wanted to do, anything he wants to do. It's funny to me how the world celebrates Donald Trump and how he wants to liberate and help and everything. But yet here in America, we have people that hate him so. Now, here's what I will also bring up. And y'all can disagree with me if you want. You have every right. But I don't believe that the majority of Americans disagree with Donald Trump. I think about 5% of America disagrees with him, but that's the 5% that our communist legacy media gives the attention to, and all of the protesters and everything that we see on our communist legacy media is that 5%, and that's what they're getting paid for and pushed for. And a lot of these protesters are being paid. And yet we stand back and allow it to happen in America. But folks, we're losing our country.
Richard and I saw that in Denver when the war broke out. We were both at Jewish National Fund Conference. That was literally just days after the war. And our convention center where we were in Denver was protested heavily. We had to have all kinds of state and local security just to function in that conference. It was the largest gathering of Jewish people and Zionists in the world at that time. And what was amazing was how close in proximity it was to the war, but you cannot believe the beautifully produced signage that was already out there on the streets.
Oh, yeah.
They're ready for this long before it actually happened.
Yes.
Like years before.
Yeah.
The sales of flags, the creation of signage, everything that's out there. And that's the thing about preparation, to the point of Purim. Esther got the job because she spent months preparing. of course, she's beautiful. She's, her Uncle Mordecai has dedicated her to the will of God for her moment in time. But she didn't just go stand in front of the king with any kind of willy-nilly approach. She was thoroughly prepared by her advisors to take that role. And Richard, as a parent, I salute you for the modern day Esthers that you are raising in your home. You and Lola are doing an amazing job, and Lola in the school, raising modern day Mordecais and Esthers. So cheers. L'chaim to you and your Esthers.
L'chaim.
But it's, preparation is going to win the day. Those who prepare will partake of the victory.
Mm-hmm.
And we can't just walk around with our head in the sand or walk around thinking like, if they would do this to Israel, they would do this to us.
Absolutely.
And we need to so much stand in solidarity and readiness and support for what people like Richard are going through in Israel.
I want to say this past weekend, I was in Houston, Texas, and Saturday we went to the big mall. It's the Galleria Mall. It's one of the largest malls I've ever been in downtown Houston. When we came out, we heard all of this stuff going on, people yelling and screaming, and cars honking, and all this stuff. I mean, what in the world is going on? And we looked over there, and just across the street on the main street in front of the Galleria Mall, there was hundreds of people all lined up on the steps and everything. We said, are they protesting or what? I cannot believe that. But then we looked closer, and all these people were holding up American flags, and then over here people were holding up Jewish flags. And they were celebrating, and then the cars were driving by, and they were honking the horn. It was like a parade.
Wow. Yes.
It was like a parade in downtown Houston.
Like a victory.
Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome.
And that was Saturday, because I guess all this happened Friday neght, and then Saturday. This was Saturday evening.
And had you rushed home and turned on legacy media, you wouldn't have seen one thing of it.
No, you would never seen anything. No.
Oh, Richard, just laugh at me because I'm just a bitter old man.
I think that the lesson here is to turn around and say, less television, more flags.
Yes.
Listen, like, if we were talking about my kids and we're talking about my wife, one of the great rules we have in our home is that at some point you turn off the screens and you go out and you do something good.
Yes.
And I think that I met a group of people, a group of young people, amazing young people when I was last in the States in San Antonio, which are the Young Advocates for CUFI.
Yes.
And I like for the people who are listening who have kids, if you got the chance to be able to send them to CUFI events and to start learning about how to become an advocate and how to be talking in your community about the things that are important to you, then do it. Because in the end, the way that we're going to lose this thing is by sitting down and just being tied to the box. Okay, we need to stop doing it. We need to go out. We need to wave our flags. We need to dance. We need to sing. We need to celebrate. Most of all, we need to talk to one another, because when we talk to one another, we stop hearing the idiots that are constantly talking to us through the legacy media.
Mm-hmm.
Amen.
Well, he's a real
preacher. I'm telling you, there's a preacher in there.
Over here in Israel.
Correspondent / preacher.
You know, the only thing I'm really disappointed in you, Richard, is I gave you a really nice Larry's Rants, Raves, and Reviews t-shirt, and you're not wearing it.
Hey, listen, it's like it's 15 degrees C, or I don't know, it's like 30 Fahrenheit. It's too cold for me to be wearing anything other than sweaters at the moment. But trust me, when I go to bed, my Larry's t-shirt will be there, and my wife will know that I'm ranting.
Well, next time we have you on, I think that you're going to have to wear it, and let people. Are you wearing it up and down the street or just to bed? Because people need to tune in and pay attention to us over there.
Next time, I promise I'll be wearing the Larry t-shirt. Okay?
We need a photograph from the desert. Richard in the desert with the Larry shirt.
Well, right? And that you bring up something else. I would like, because I know it's probably about 11 o'clock your time at night right now.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So what I would like to do is sometime coordinate to where you're outside, because I just know that Israel is gorgeous. It's beautiful. And I would love to have you outside doing a remote with us, and let's see some of that beautiful country of yours. We'll look at your crops. We'll look at whatever. I know that when one of the episodes that when you were here in Little Rock, he said, I can take just a short walk up the mountain and I can see 3 countries from where I stand. Wow.
Yes.
Richard, I want to see that. Don't you? Randy?
We'll make it happen.
So we'll come to the studio about 11
happen.
o'clock at night. And 11 o'clock at night here, we can record while it's 7 a.m. there.
I can do that.
That's good. And that way I'll be drinking coffee and you'll be drinking wine.
Well, the only thing now is now that I know that you wear our T-shirt as a nightgown, I'll be saying, well, Lord, he dressed in his pajamas to do this whole show, so. Actually, believe it or not, it is funny because I do some remote shows, and I've done a couple of them just sitting in my pajamas with this funny T-shirt on, and no one ever knows the way I position so I'm real comfortable.
There you go.
So, Richard, is there anything else?
You see, I'm feeling for Randy at this point, I have to tell you.
Thank you.
Randy's not there on those particular episodes. Richard, is there any closing remarks or anything that you'd like to talk to our viewers about? Anything at all?
I'm gonna be a little bit more serious now. Okay. That this is a war. Okay.
Yes.
And that on both sides, people are being hurt and people are being killed, and we have to remember that no matter how good the outcome is, that people are hurting, and that if you pray or if you just think, that just remember that even though this is a righteous war, that we need to take into account that people are getting hurt, and that we need to be there for them when this is over. Okay, it means that when you're handing around your collection plate in the church, that make sure that you put that you ask for $1 to be put aside for somebody who's lost their home. And when you're thinking about the stuff that you're buying, that maybe buy something a little bit extra and give it to a family of a military person who's lost their loved one. But there's no such thing as a war that people don't get hurt in.
Yes.
Okay. And it's an important message, because in the end, we have to keep our humanity even when we're fighting. And thanks for giving me a voice. Seriously, it's not something that we take for granted nowadays living in Israel. And really, I want to thank the good folks of Arkansas who have become my second family, because I feel the love every time I'm there. Wow. And thank you, Randy, and thank you, Larry. And yes. Kathy, I miss you.
You are family. We love you. We miss you. We pray for you round the clock, and we can't wait for you to get back here. And we can't wait to be there, right, guys? Right. We're all going to be back. God willing, we will be in Israel too.
Amen.
I want the remote, because I don't know that I'm willing to climb on the plane and go over there, and so I'll just we'll do a remote. But I think Kathy and Randy. But hey, I want to say thank you once again for being on here, and again extend an invitation anytime you have a specific update, anything that's happening over there, because I think this is something that our listeners need to pay attention to us, because they're not going to get the truth off of legacy media. They're going to have to delve in to podcasts and YouTube channels in order to get the real truth. Yes. So Richard, thank you. And folks, I'm going to give you one. I told you I was opening with a rant, and I'm going to end with a rant, okay? I'm going to give you some closing remarks, and I really am going to be serious. Folks, how in the world did we get here? Well, let me give you just a clue. Hillary Clinton supplied Iran with uranium to enrich their nuclear program. Barack Hussein Obama, who I believe is America's biggest mistake, gave Iran $1.7 billion. Now, that's with a B. Please understand what I said. $1 billion that they used to fund their nuclear program. Otto Penn, sleepy Joe Biden, which we all really know, if you want to face the truth, is Hussein's third term. And he unfroze $16 billion of funds to Iran. While President Trump, he can't even draw a breath to please the left. Never forget that Barack Hussein Obama was able to send them pallets of American cash, literal pallets of our cash, American money. Your tax dollars, my tax dollars, was sent to them. Billions of dollars to Iran, and yet nobody in Congress, nobody in the FBI, nobody in the Justice Department called for an investigation. He's just able to do it. And I have no earthly idea why. But in January of 2016, our tax dollars of pallets of cash was flown into them, knowing that they were sponsoring terrorism, knowing how they were treating their people, knowing all of this. And the money has been used for funding continual terror in that country and starting to build up their nuclear program. Thank God that we have a leader and a president that says it stops right here. That buck stops right here. No more. Iran, you will never have nuclear weapons. And thank God that we have a president who is a real leader and a humanitarian, as Richard just alluded to, that has a heart, that cares not only about our country and loves our country and loves we the people, but he loves the people of other nations. I can just assure you that he is appalled at how the people in Iran have been treated and abused by this evil regime that we've now taken out. Will it be worth the price? Yes, I think it possibly and probably will. Is the left going to continue to complain about it? Yes, they will. Now, I will tell you, ladies and gentlemen, it's kind of like Shark Tank. You know, where all roads lead back to Mr. Wonderful, if you've ever watched that show. Well, the decline, the demise, and the destroying of America and to places like this, all roads lead back, I believe, to Barack Hussein Obama. The man who dropped 26,000 bombs in 7 different countries, and yet there wasn't a peep from the radical left. They never said a word. Legacy media never covered that. I'm saying that, and you're sitting there going, I don't even know if I believe him. That's because you cannot trust the legacy media to give you the truth. Tim Burchard, somebody that I really, really like from Tennessee, he had a mic drop moment the other day when he said Obama bombed 8 countries without congressional approval. And yet, the left says this is unprecedented. Really? Because Barack Hussein Obama, America's biggest mistake, did this and worse. You see, as he said, if you poke the bull, you get the horns. Well, President Trump is a man of his word. He's a man of strength, and he's a man of action. So my last thought on this episode would be, thank you, President Trump, for loving America. Thank you, President Trump, for loving we the people and for having guts to do what other weak, America-hating politicians would not do. May God bless you. May God continue to bless and protect America and our friends and ally in Israel. Richard, thanks again. Folks, thank you. And I hope that you will have a wonderful day.